It's Dr. Yvette Maureen here, and in line with manifesting healthy, purpose-driven, God-focused relationships, I invite you to get into my new series. I had the pleasure of sitting down with 4 dynamic couples for Season 1 of the Prayer Life Devotional Expressions series.
Yeah, I say this all the time, and I tell people this. I wanted to leave Montgomery bad.
Yeah.
Like, I graduated in 2005. I got my radio TV degree, and then I was okay. I'm gonna go get a job at ESPN, and this after my baseball career was over.
Yeah.
And nope, God said, well, you stay back, get your MBA. Got my master's. Then 2008, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking at Houston, Detroit, Atlanta, Dallas, everywhere. Nope. Fast forward, I say all I can say is I went to Atlanta that specific weekend that we met just to get out of Montgomery. And I say that all the time. I would have never went to Atlanta if I was in a major city. Yeah. I wouldn't have been no reason for me to fly to Atlanta.
Right.
But because I was living in Montgomery, I was like, you know what? I want to get out of Montgomery. Let's go to Atlanta. I say that all the time. You never know what God has planned for you. Because I said I wouldn't have met her.
Yeah.
Because even though the friend we have that's mutual is close with both of us, the only reason she knew that I was in Atlanta was because somebody posted a picture of me. And she saw it. It wasn't like I called the friend and said, hey, I'm coming to Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's just never funny how God works things out.
Mm-hmm. How he places it.
Yep.
And how did that call go for y'all to meet?
So this is the funny part. Like he said, so that friend who was a bridesmaid of mine, she surprised me that weekend when I got hooded, when I got my doctorate degree. So that night we went out partying, and I guess some way or the other she was communicating with somebody in your group. So
yep.
So at that time, I'm in my group, he's in his group. So he walks up, well, she comes with him and brings him over and introduces him to me. So I'm like, okay, cool, great. I'm Cassandra, no big deal. Mm-hmm. And I guess she probably said I was there for graduation while he was there for, was it Founders Day weekend?
Yeah, it was a Founders Day, and it was
for his fraternity.
Because I'm Greek and I'm an Alpha, and but it was also my line brother's birthday.
Right. So walks up.
All these celebrations in the same.
No big deal, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So then he tells me he's here for his Founders Day. So we're not overly, and when I use by Greek, we don't let that define us, right? But in that moment, I said, oh, okay, he's Greek. Let me just throw a little something just to connect and be friendly.
Right.
So I said, oh, ski fi. And then he makes the comment.
This is where you have to remember that depending on where you crossed at and what you were brought up under, different regions are different.
So he says, oh, you should know my Founders Day.
Yeah.
I reply and say, honey, that's the last thing on my mind. You have a great day. And I kept it pushing. And at that time, once again, not knowing him, the swag that he really has.
Was that the pickup line?
No, it was just, so in Alabama, a lot of older AKAs, and they say, well, listen, if an AKA ever try you, just make sure you come with.
Like I was checking him, right?
It's like she was checking me. So
like I was trying to check him, like trying to,
check. And I set it off nice and cool, and she said, oh, Ski Five, oh, you should know my Founders Day.
So then I thought,
just
I
like
said,
that.
So the funny thing, I said, oh, he gotta be the most lamest guy out there.
Like,
oh my God, he gotta be the lamest Greek ever, right? And it wasn't until we got on a phone call. So no, I'm in Miami. He's in Montgomery. And our girlfriend says, hey, what did you think about my friend? And I'm like, I don't know, but he can be my friend. I'm just being friendly. Like, I'm friendly. That's my personality, right? And at the same time, she's texting you and you say...
I said, who, the doctor chick?
Right?
And I literally...
the doctor
same question.
chick?
Yeah.
Her.
Right?
She was literally, while she was texting her, she was texting me the same thing.
Same question, like, oh, what did you think about my friend?
And I was just like, what do you mean what I think?
I said,
she's in Miami, I'm in Montgomery.
No big deal. I'm like, I don't know if he's my type, but you can share my number, no big deal. So we get on a text. He's at a pharmaceutical, I think.
I was at a training because I was a national trainer.
So we exchanged she exchanged our numbers.
Yep.
He texts me, cordial, we're chatting. So then he sends a text. What was that line you said about, do I like to communicate?
Oh, this is when I said I knew I had a bit of a chance. Because I said, well, do you like to communicate via text or via talk? And she said, well, text is cool, but if I'm getting to know somebody, talk.
It's only so much you can do, right?
I said, great. It's only so many emojis you can do when trying to get to know somebody.
And then I put an LOL.
And she put a bunch of LOLs. I said, all right, I got a little bit of chance.
A little bit of chance, right? Even though he ain't see the doctor chick that night, he don't remember exactly how I looked.
Didn't remember how she looked, because it was a dark area. So, guys.
It's at a club, right?
Yeah, I remember none of that.
So what happened is we didn't schedule time to talk, right? I had a business meeting, a business dinner that night. So he was scheduled to call me, I don't know, let's say 8
o'clock.
o'clock, whatever it was, right? 9 o'clock.
See,
remember the time.
Look at that.
So 9 o'clock, so he calls me, what happened? You could tell the rest of the story because you underestimated us women.
I did, because you women sometimes don't follow through. So
you women?
Exactly, but
like we're aliens?
Listen,
well,
so
she
this
said
is the funny
you
part.
could tell the rest of the story, so I was using the word you
I get it.
in succession with the sentence. But
got it.
no, so I said, you know what? I'm not gonna play games. I'm gonna call it at 9. She told me to call it at 9. I was gonna call it 9:05, 9:15. I said, you know what? I'm gonna call it at 9. Call her at 9. Hi, you've reached Cassandra. I said, typical chick. So by the time before I could literally, I was on the couch just like this in the Courtyard Marriott. By the time I could do this, put the phone down, it was like text message. It was her. Hey, my dinner meeting's running late. I'll call you as soon as I get in the car. I said, women don't do that.
And I said, what women have you dated that don't do that? Because for me, growing up, it's always been, even if you're not interested in someone, you still show them the courtesy, you show them the respect, and you show them the dignity of picking up a phone call or returning it by text. So for me, you don't have to be my boyfriend for me to show you a level of respect. So I literally did what I was raised to do, which was, hey, I'm in a meeting, but I'll call you back. So we get on the phone, I get in the car, I'm leaving Houston's, I get in the car, we talk for 2 hours, right? 2 hours. And I did something that I usually don't do. So I always pray over relationships with those males when I meet them. But this time, immediately I said, Lord, let not my mind make the decision, let my heart lead. And at that moment, there was this shift. And I don't know what, it was this feeling that I was like, why am I feeling this way? Because at that time, we still getting to know each other.
Mind you now, and to fast forward a bit, our relationship was long distance.
Oh, yeah. The whole time.
I didn't move to Miami until a week before the wedding.
No, yes, because even when we did
my birthday was
even
August
when
3rd.
we went to the courthouse, right, to finalize, because for us, we didn't want to move in together without at least going through the formality of having a marriage license. So we chose to first get our marriage license and then move in together. And at that time, he was still commuting from Montgomery. And you're right, it wasn't until a week before the wedding. Now, mind you,
I flew down August 4th. Our wedding was August 12th.
Yeah. Entire time, long distance. Even coming back to Atlanta to celebrate New Year's Eve. So after we met the initial time, we came back to Atlanta to celebrate New Year's Eve together. And at that time, in my mind, we're still just friends. And it wasn't until February. So he did a trip. So this is December 2015. February 2016, he comes to Miami. Well, he plans a trip to Miami to come see me. I'm thinking no big deal. I didn't realize it was Valentine's weekend because I'm not thinking of him as a, right? Because prior to that, he told me he loved me when he was in Dominican Republic for his
one of my buddies' weddings. Yep.
So we're on the phone, and he's like, I forgot how you said it, but
I just told her I loved her. I said, it's okay, you ain't got to tell
me.
And
I told him, oh, that's so nice.
It's okay.
Thank you. Because I didn't want to feel like pressure to say anything, but he also didn't make me feel bad about it.
Right.
It was like, you can talk to me about this. Like, it's okay if you love me. And it wasn't a necessary, I love you too back. He didn't need that. And even without having that, he persuaded me hard. So that weekend, I'm like, oh, let me do a little gathering at my house, no big deal. Invite my parents, because me and my parents are very close. So I said, oh, let me invite them to meet my friend. So I told my brother I have a friend coming to town. I'm describing this friend to my brother, younger brother. Excuse me, there's only two of us. And he says, this doesn't sound like a friend to me. It sounds like more. And I'm like, more? Because at that time, he was waiting for me to make the commitment. And it wasn't until that weekend when he came into town. And remind you, even in this generation where you expect, oh, you're coming to town, you're staying with her, he had his own Airbnb, his own transportation. He was waiting for me to invite him into my home. And at that time, I surprised him with a card that pretty much said, I want to be your girlfriend. Yes. That was the weekend we became boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah. And 2 days later, Dr. Yvette, we went to go look at rings. So we were we were at the mall, right? Just at the mall casually. And he said, oh, let's stop by that store. I just want to know your ring size. I'm like, okay, no big deal.
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
We're girlfriend, right, for 2 days. Right. Boyfriend, girlfriend for 2 days.
It was the same weekend.
Honestly, pause right there. That might, because you knew, Cassandra, you knew that would be okay to do, right? You didn't think that she'd be like, oh, this is weird.
No, because you got to keep in mind that we talk literally. It was only one day that we did talk on the phone.
That December.
One day. sure. And it was me being a little petty. I just want to see
trying to prove to see I would call because he always called me. I would say,
wait, how did that work out for you?
Oh, we should call the next day. I ain't called him that day. But it wasn't intentional. I didn't know that was what he was thinking.
Yeah.
I didn't know in the back of my mind he wanted to see if I was vested as much as he was.
Exactly.
I just thought, okay, we took a break today.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we talk literally every day since we met on December 5th, 6th.
How do you remember the date?
I am pretty good with dates.
So that's far. The men tend to remember
he's very attentive. He's very intentional. He's very loving. He's very Orlando's one of the ones that I prayed for times 10, right? Like I said, I was saying earlier, I had this little list in my Bible from 2004. I went to a church conference, right? And it talked about the things that you wanted in a partner. So I wrote down the things I wanted in a partner, and I kept it in my Bible, and I promised to God, I made a promise to him that I would not take it out until that came to fruition, until he brought that partner. And it wasn't until our vows, that wedding day, that it clicked like, God, this is the list.
This is the list.
Mm-hmm.
13 years later.
Tangible.
This is the list.
Tangible.
Everything from spiritual, family-oriented, funny, honest, genuine, loving. That was something that was very important to me was, one, you were a man of God, because I saw that growing up. Mm-hmm. Two, you were loving and caring and family-centered, because once again, I experienced it. So everything I saw, there was this desire to want to replicate it. Mm-hmm. Not for him to become my dad, but for him to emulate certain things that I valued as a woman growing up, seeing how my dad treated my mother. Mm-hmm. So when you see that there's this expectation that if he can get this, I know God can hook me up too.
Right.
So seeing that in someone who is patient, I mean, he has the patience. I thought I had the patience of Job. It wasn't until I met him. And that love that is so unconditional, that agape love, mm-hmm. You know it exists, but you don't know how it feels until you get it. So, yeah.
To answer your question, I knew she wasn't going to be upset. So,
and I don't know why it didn't feel weird.
It didn't feel weird. It was just natural. It was just like we was walking in the mall. And I said, "Hey, let's go and check race." She's like, "Okay."
And then literally a month later,
I was plotting the whole time.
Right. You're like,
crazy?
Let's go to the mall with the.
But I didn't think. But real talk. At that time, was that really on your mind?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Once I got in the mall and I walked past the ring store, I said, let me get a ring. This.
But getting my ring size because you knew I was the one at that time.
Oh, it was done deal.
Oh, okay.
What else am I asking?
No, but I'm just, and it's so funny we're having this conversation because I know he knew early on, right? I know that, but not to the point of I'm going to stop by this store because I already know I want you to be my wife, but more so long-term planning, right? Like, okay, I want this to be long-term, not at that moment, because the funny thing is within that month, that was Easter weekend.
No, that was February. Easter weekend is when you flew to Montgomery and we drove.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so that weekend flew to Montgomery, drove to Atlanta, and he took me to a broker to find my engagement setting. And then the following month, and it's so funny because I have pictures of all these moments, right? With the bag, the engagement ring, all that. The following month, flew back to Montgomery. We drove to Atlanta again, and then he picked out the stone. And then, give or take 4 or 5 months,
Labor Day weekend,
he proposed with all of our parents together. His parents flew down to Detroit to meet my parents. From Detroit, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And then he proposed, and I thought it was a joke. Almost. I was laughing.
So when did you, because my next question was going to be like, when did you realize that you trusted Orlando? But I really want to know, when did it's more than trust. So when did it actually click for you? Because the entire time you're saying he knew and you were thinking more like, okay, down the line.
You know what? I think in talking so much with each other, one thing about us, we're big on communication, whether we like it or not, whether we want to hear it or not, we're very, very transparent with each other. Sometimes overly transparent, I think, for some couples, right? Every couple is different. So I never thought about not trusting him. Like, sometimes you have to think about, do I trust him? That thought never came up. And we were talking about that. I think because we told each other things that we never had to tell each other. For example, we'll go to each other's homecomings, right?
Now homecoming will break a couple up.
But he'll tell me ahead of time, like, yeah, babe, that one I dated. Yeah, babe, I went out with her.
Yeah.
Without having to. And it's like one of those like, oh, that's great. And then if I meet them, it's as if there is no tension. It's just like, hey. So that comfort level, I think, was established from day one.
Yeah, I think for me, I had been in relationships in the past where I saw what happens when you weren't as honest as you could possibly be. And so I just do it. Then also you can never doubt it when God's involved. And so when you have that dynamic and you kind of just are open to any and all, it just makes it easier. It makes your life easier when you can just say everything. Yeah. And also it brings back to the dynamic of your wife or your spouse being your friend.
That's the number one thing.
We joke around a lot.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes, and I felt bad, and let me not use the word bad. I remember telling one of my girlfriends who went to college with us, and I said, why am I not overly excited like some women are when you get engaged, right? Because I'm very mushy and yay, Kodak, let's have a Kodak moment. Yeah. And she told me, she said, Cassandra, there's no reason for that when this was already something that God planned out for you. You prayed for this years in the making. Every year you would fast for this. You would pray for this. So this is not a surprise to you. Because I almost felt like there are other women that are just over the moon, and here for me, it felt normal.
It felt normal. It felt real.
It just felt so
comfortable.
Normal.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was comfort.
And I think that's for us what makes us different is a lot of couples at this pressure of how you should be when you're husband and wife. For us, we're friends. Like we're home. Like there are times we are a fool. You would have thought that we are not married. That you would have thought that we just met each other somewhere random and I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's just natural. It's organic.
Yeah. We rank each other.
We'll probably joke a few times.
We do. We have little code words. If we're out somewhere, he gives me a code word. I know what that means. I'm telling you, we rank each other. We do dance offs at the house because it's just the two of us. I don't know. This is my best friend. It truly is. It truly is my best friend. And when you let that guard down, you have no reason to feel judged. That's the thing. I would never feel judged around him. Never. No matter what I do. So, yeah. This one over here. My G. That's another code we have. My G.
My G? Like G-E-E?
No, like my G.
It's become more commercialized these days. Other people use it now, but I've been, using it for a while.
And then we came up with the whole castle.
Let's talk about that. This was not, I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh.
So when I reached out to you all about the whole series and what we were doing, I already knew there was like something wonderful about y'all's connection. Like it was just so cool. But Cassandra says, just so you know, it's Cass O, and that's our united name. And so, because I was like, I don't even feel right saying Cassandra and Orlando. Like it just needs to be Cass O from here on out. And
that's just kind of got birthed from our wedding.
Yeah, from our engagement.
Yeah,
and they just birthed. You know what it was? I think it was my bridesmaid from my bachelorette party. Everything they had was like a Cass O moment, in addition to us. But they literally branded this whole Cass O. So it's funny because when I replied, I said, "Oh yeah, Cassandra Orlando." But just so you know, if just something to add to what makes us different, we have this little nickname, and I even send that to my mother-in-law. Like on cards, I'll put Cass O.
I love it. It's like where you all have infused into one person.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's a Cassandra that exists in Orlando, but Casso is where
and
the
that's
magic
what I love also about him is he has not forced me to be identified by a title called wife, right? Like I could still be Cassandra. I could be Cass. I could be Cassie. I could be my G. I could be homie. I could be whatever I want to be and not feel as if the pressure is you have to do this, you have to confine to this, you have to, operate your home in this. That's not him. Even to the point where when we talked about moving out of state, he's like, babe, where you want to go, I follow. Versus the other role, right? Like, he's like, no, you want to go here? I'm going there. You want to go here?
It's no big deal to me.
He's not defined by this male, masculine role that says you need to do this and your wife needs to conform to this. That is not him. That's not. He cooks. There are times I don't want to cook. He's like, yo, why are you cooking? I can cook today. We even have our little fun day Saturday chores that we split up as Casso.
Still don't like those.
I was gonna say fun day and chores combined. What would make it fun is maybe.
It is. It's so fun for me. We have our chores that we break up.
Yeah, I don't like it. but it's necessary.
But that was the bridge, right?
Yeah.
That was the
you gotta remember, I was a bachelor. I pretty much did whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
My house was minimum standards for me.
Not minimum, like just to survive. Like what do you need
it was
for
minimum health standards. And when I had gas, I cleaned up. But overall, throughout the week, they were minimum. But now there's a new level that my wife has helped me grow into. That's a standard for me now. So she just gets excited to see me continuously doing it. That's all it is.
When I don't ask, when I see him, I'm like, he's doing this. I didn't even have to ask.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just, I was joking the other day. I said, man, it took me 3 years to get to this. To consistently really just.
We've been married for 3 years.
I was going to say, I didn't ask that in the beginning. How long did y'all date fully, and then how long have y'all been married for?
We met December 2015. We got married August 2017. Mm-hmm. So December.
Yeah.
So like a year and a half.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've been married for 3 years.
It'll be
you all just had an
August.
Anniversary.
We did. And it's funny because prior to, even our first year of marriage, right? We would get from outsiders or other couples like, oh my God, y'all must be married at least 10 years. Must be married at least 5. I'm like, nah, it's been 5 months. So I think
it's just the energy.
I think it's the energy. I really think. And once again, we're not perfect. No marriage is perfect. But when you have someone who encourages you to be better and makes you think about the things that you can do to be better, I think it's always a win-win situation, even when you don't like it or even if you don't want to hear it.
I think the biggest thing is having somebody that's going to push you to grow.
Yeah.
Positively. And bringing, helping you see the better side. Helping you see the side that you don't always see. How if like I tell her sometimes, she's amazing at organizing and planning and structure and strategy. Yeah. And then you remember that's what she does in her political world and in her philanthropic world. And so it's just making sure you always encouraging because sometimes others can see what we don't see in the mirror.
Versus for him, biggest cheerleader. Like I can literally say, I want to go down the street. Like, well, why don't you go to the moon instead? But bro, how am I gonna get to the moon? Yeah. So he's always seeing more in me. Like we're very confident people, right? We are very self-led kind of leaders. But there's certain times I'm like, well, babe, I don't know. He's like, are you serious? You can do this. And I'm like, where do you see that? So having that gives you an added comfort. And I must add, going through challenges, knowing that you have someone that's going to stick by your side. I remember my matron at the wedding, she said, listen, life is like a roller coaster ride, right? You have two individuals in a seat next to each other going up and down. The difference is in marriage is you can look to your right and that person will still be there. Yep. That's the difference. It's two seats. It's two seats in a roller coaster.
She didn't say the challenges aren't going to come. She didn't say they even slow down.
No. She just said the difference is you just have somebody to your right or to your left that's going to be there as you're going up and down. That's the only difference.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. Exactly. And that's what's been the process for us these last 3 years. I haven't been alone throughout my journey, challenges and complexities, and the same for him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The couple's stories are meant to inspire and spark dialogue on how faith bonds our romantic relationships. We engage in open, candid discussions on boundaries, love, faith, prayer in marriage, the importance of true friendship, commitment, and what women and men really want from a significant other. We laughed, cried, and then it got real as we talked through what it takes to ride the highs and lows of a Christ-centered marriage.